G'day folks, Connor here from CW's Tech Reviews, back with another video, and today we're doing my street review of the Fujifilm X100v. This, my friends, is something you need to keep an eye on. Now this was sent to me to review and I didn't really know what I was getting into. I haven't had the previous Fujifilm X100 whatevers before, and I was a bit dubious because I was thinking, hey, this thing has one focal length, one lens. What am I supposed to do here? But straight away, I just got this feeling that I was dealing with a street photography camera. So I went out and I hit the streets in Brisbane and I put it through its paces. And I gotta be honest with you, I was pleasantly surprised with what I was working with. Now this is my review, okay? This is not your review or DP review or the art of photography. This is my experience using this camera out and about and just learning to adapt to it and see where its strengths and weaknesses are. And I gotta say, as soon as I picked it up, I felt like I was holding something really nice. I mean, it's a really, really good looking camera. Very nostalgic feeling. I felt like I was using an old school camera. Lots of dials, lots of buttons, clunky, but in a good way. I don't know how else to describe it, but you know, the buttons have a nice solid click to them. You raise the dial here to get to your ISO and turn it around and push it back down for your shutter speed. There's buttons on the back here that all have a purpose, and for me the design was well thought out. And it's just a classic look from Fuji. 23mm fixed lens, which is perfect for street photography. Now there are times where I wished I could have walked in closer to the image or just zoomed out to get a wider shot. Yeah, there was, but the one rule of photography kept yelling into my ears, and that was zoom with your feet. And it made me think a lot more about my photography and what I was actually doing. And I wasn't just relying on the lens and its zoom capabilities. I was actually thinking about my composition, thinking about where I needed to be to compose my shot, and then walking around to get the best shot that I could. Now, I'm a Canon guy. Like, I use Canon for my videos, I use Canon for my photography. So there was change needed here from me to be able to use this camera. But once I put aside my predetermined ideas of what a good system should look like and just started using the Fujifilm for what it was, I started to enjoy the experience, and it was a thoroughly enjoyable experience using this camera. And I can truly say, if you are a street photographer, you will fall in love with this. This could be your next step up. It's so easy to carry around. I mean, this could fit into your pocket. This could be the only thing you need to take with you as you go out to do your photography. Now, I come from a spot where I'm taking my DSLR and 3-4 lenses and a tripod, and I didn't need to take any of that. All I needed was my camera and a tripod. And even then, for a day trip into the city to do some street photography, I just needed a mini tripod. So I didn't need all that extra bulk. It took away a lot of decision making and just freed me up to do photography. And while we're talking about the build and design, I must say this is a weather resistant camera. Now the lens isn't, but the body itself is, and that brings some comfort. I mean, maybe not here in Australia where it hasn't rained for 5,000 years, but for most of the people around the world, having a weather sealed body is going to bring you some comfort. And I think it's at that price point where you would expect that, so it's good to see that they included it in the X100v. The lens is 32mm and comes in at f2, so you can get some nice crispy images with those out of focus backgrounds. And one of the things that surprised me here was the built-in ND filter. Yet again, something else I don't need to carry around and fiddle with while I'm out and about doing my photography. But there's a caveat here. It doesn't work in video mode, and that's a huge, huge fail. But this isn't a video centric camera. And I'm just gonna say that. It's not video centric. This camera is for street photography. It does have some good video capabilities, and I will get to those soon. Some other areas of build that I was surprised with. One was the electronic viewfinder. It took a little bit of getting used to because it actually has a frame in there of what is in your composition, and it was a struggle for me. I'm used to seeing like everything in the frame is in my composition, so I had to adjust. I had to relearn what I was doing because it's a different camera, a different system. So that was challenging, but once I got used to it, it was quite easy to see what I was composing and where my frame began and ended. It also comes in two colors, black and silver. I think the silver looks much better. It looks classy and classic. And also here you do have the X-Trans 4 CMOS sensor. So it's a 26.2 megapixel shooter, and you get some really crisp, sharp images with that sensor. Look, Fuji, they know what they're doing when it comes to photography. This sensor is a great sensor. It's reliable, and I think you'll be really happy with the images and some of the video that you can get from this sensor. And one of the key aspects here for this camera is that the lens is truly optimized for this sensor and for this camera. So you know you're going to get the best image. My Canon lenses are designed for Canon cameras, but this lens on this Fuji X100v is designed specifically for that one product, and it just complements it so well. Now for me, the autofocus was exactly what I expected to be. From a photography point of view, this autofocus gave me everything I needed when I took to the world as a street photographer. This wouldn't be the case if I was using it for sports. But so just bear that in mind, but I don't think people are going to buy this for sports photography with that lens and everything like that. This is street photography or portrait photography, but it's definitely not for sports. But that autofocus worked fine when I needed it to. It worked a treat. Can say that it was reliable for the photography that I was doing with it. So earlier I was talking about the viewfinder, and this is a hybrid viewfinder. So you have EVF and OVF in the viewfinder. And in the optical viewfinder, you can also have a small digital image, an electronic image of the viewfinder as well, so you can have the best of both worlds. Something else I wasn't too happy with, and that was the flippy screen. It's great that it has it. I don't think the last version had it, but I just think if you're gonna make a flippy screen, maybe flip it right the way around. And I get that this camera wasn't designed for vlogging and for videography. Well, I don't think it was anyway. But to have a flippy screen that doesn't flip, only tilts, is frustrating, and I think they could have done that better. But it is good to see they've had some progression with that screen. Having it on the back there, it's a nice bright display. It's fairly true to life. What I was seeing on the back of the screen is what I was taking photos of. The colors were realistic. It was an enjoyable experience. It just didn't flip. Why do they make them when they don't flip? Like, just every camera should flip. And another area what I would like to see with some of these Fuji cameras is the mic jack. 2.5mm mic jack. I'm not going out to buy a 2.5 adapter. My mics are 3.5 or XLR for in the studio. So if you're out and about, you can't just pick up the small fluffy Rode microphone and plug it in. You will need an adapter. And I just think like come on. Let's just do those two things would just give us so much more, especially if you did want to use this for vlogging, because it's quite capable as a video recorder. Which one looks great? Do they both look great? I don't know. I'm no expert. I'm just a guy who pressed record and uploaded it. Now my main camera is actually the Canon 90D, which is a video first camera. And the Fuji X100v actually keeps up with it in the video department, albeit for some small differences. But here you can actually get 10-bit recorded externally via HDMI, which is amazing for the camera that we have here. You also get 120 frames per second slow motion, 4K up to 30 frames per second, and you also get your 1080p 60 frames per second. So some really good images, really good video. The quality I was really happy with. It was nice and it wasn't too hard to edit. You know, some video footage is hard to edit and you don't get much movement from it. But I was really happy with the F-log that came out of the Fuji X100v. You do have a lot of different simulations within the camera settings. It's like putting on a filter over the top of your image. I think this camera is definitely a street photography / artistic sort of camera. You get so many different settings you can change within the menu. It's like putting a filter over the top of your image, and you can do that whilst running around doing some great street photography. No need to send it to a phone and manipulate it in the phone. You can actually do it in the camera. The battery left a little bit to be desired. It's a small battery, it doesn't take a lot of images, and I did have to charge it halfway through the day. That's one battery. So I think for a comfortable shoot, out walking around doing street photography, you'd be looking at maybe having to buy 2 more batteries to give you a total of 3. You come through with a shutter speed of 4000, ISO 12800. You do have that ND filter. It really is an added feature for the photography. Now I am working on a comparison video between the Canon 90D and the Fuji X100v. It'll be a bit of slap and tickle for that one, a bit of fun, nothing too serious. So make sure you subscribe if you do want to see that. So if you're after something elegant, something classic, something robust, weather sealing, and something capable, a bit of an all-rounder, then I think the Fuji X100v should definitely be in your basket for considerations. There are some other cameras out there that you can consider as well that can do just as much, maybe more, but this is designed for street photography. It is killer at street photography, and that is why I'm going to recommend it to anyone who takes street photography seriously. The ability to carry this around just in a pocket is also a massive feature. One lens attached to the body, no issues, just put it in your pocket and take it out when you need it. That is what makes good photography accessible. Now, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the like button. All your support will be much appreciated. Thank you very much, and I will catch you in the next video. Check it!